ultimately, we have to decide what kind of country we are. Are we the kind of country in which a substantial minority, with the history of racial suppression, oppression, dominance that we know has transpired here, in which we're prepared to set them off in our discourses about our public policy and credit on relatively thin evidence in a world where it's very hard to exactly know what's going on, credit their circumstance to something that we take to be intrinsic to them. Now let me give you an example. We wouldn't do that in a lot of other social circumstances. If somebody told me that Appalachian whites were stupid relative to other whites, I don't know if it's true or not, and I don't hold that opinion, but if someone told me that, I would be appalled, not because I thought it was a claim made without scientific evidence, but because I thought it was a construction of the relations of people in the society that was unacceptable. Oh, do you know that Kentucky takes in 15% more federal tax dollars than it spends? And do you know that that's unfair because those people down there are really not as smart on the average as other groups of Americans, and it's been shown? I mean, nobody would begin to engage in a discourse like that. Nor would we say, as we could, the population is aging, older people are staying on the job longer, mental acuity declines with age past a certain point, and therefore a consequence of abrogating mandatory retirement and extending longevity is to dumb down the workforce. Right? I don't want to take too much time on this, I just want to try to make this point. The reason we don't talk that way is because we construct our relations to the objects of such a discussion in such a way that it precludes even approaching the problem in that way in the first place. Put differently, if those old people on the job are getting dumber, then there are dumb mothers and fathers, and soon they will be our dumb selves. And we're not about to set them up and make them the objects of some kind of ridicule and some kind of protracted social dialogue about how our responsibilities to them oughtn't to be what they otherwise would be, because in fact they're dumb. Right? What I'm trying to get at here is those people are our people. That is us. Those failing kids in the school are us. Those knuckleheads or worse in the jails are us. It's us. It's our product. It's our situation. If our youngsters, the young men, were drinking and driving their cars off the road and hurting themselves in large numbers, even though they were failing to exercise personal responsibility at the point that they consumed alcohol and got behind the car, they would nevertheless be our youngsters, and the crisis would be our problem. The little, I almost said little girls. I don't think they would want to be called little girls. If I'm over 50 and they're under 20 and I think of them as little girls, perhaps you can forgive me. But if they starve themselves to death on some crazy idea about what it means to be beautiful by, denying themselves food, and it reaches crisis proportions, even though they fail to exercise responsibility, they nevertheless would be ours, right? These subcultures of pathology, quote unquote, in the heart of our great cities are ours. It's a move to think about it as something that those people are doing over there. That's actually a discretionary act, and it's an act that has political consequences.